Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi. This is Italian Spotlight, brought to you today by Spalumbos. Joining me today is Joe Forzani. Thanks, Joe, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let's talk a little bit about your history here in Calgary, Joe, and the family's history. You grew up in Bridgeland. Tell me a little bit about what Bridgeland was like when you grew up and what you enjoyed about that community.
Oh, well, Tone. Mario, it was really, as I think back and look back, it was really a unique experience. I mean, it was fully Italian. Bridgeland was almost, well, they call it Little Italy, but it was almost most everyone was an import, as it were. We're from mostly from Italy, but you know, we had Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary. I mean, you couldn't pronounce any of the names in the classroom. But it was a really good experience. I came from a really good family. My mother and father, my mother Audrey and my father John, was they were just great parents, and I think they allowed myself, my two brothers, to sort of back anything that we got into, and they pushed us to be successful, but they didn't necessarily push us in a direction. We found our own direction, but the love and the camaraderie at home was fantastic.
What do you think you learned from your parents?
Oh, my dad was, like I said, an Italian immigrant. He came here when he was 13. They put him into grade 1, and he lasted, I think, 3 years. He got equivalent to around a grade 5 or 6, and he quit and went to work. And he had a great, excellent work ethic. He's one of those guys that could fix anything. He could build a house, fix everybody's car in the neighborhood, drainage systems, the whole bit. And he ended up buying a service station for 40 years. He had a white wooden service station on top of Edmonton Trail. And one of the things that I really noted about him, which was fantastic, was his work ethic. He worked 6 days a week, hard. And he never complained. He always came home. I never saw him in the morning when I went to school, and I hardly saw him when I came home because, I would have dinner and then go out and play sports.
Yeah.
There was no computers or phones then. And so his work ethic, and my mother was just so accommodating. Anytime I had a problem, anytime I needed something, she was always there, just encouraging me. So I was very fortunate to have two unbelievable parents.
Well, the family is known for your football, right? The three boys played it, yourself, your late brother John, and Tom, of course. What got you guys into football? Like, why then? And obviously, being Italian, why not soccer?
Yeah. It's unbelievable the odds of one Forzani, going all the way and to pro sports, let alone three. I'm the oldest, and I went to high school. And when I was in grade 10, I went to St. Mary's. I could have gone to St. Francis, but they didn't have a football team then.
Wow.
But it's really funny, Mario, how I got into football. I was a fairly good athlete in junior high. I played football and basketball. We used to play in our jeans and a hat, the same shirt that I wore to school, But when I got into high school, the first day of school, Bill Casanova, who was a fabulous coach, fabulous, probably the number one reason how I went so far in sports. Bill Casanova came here from Ontario. He played professional baseball, and he also played for the Stampeder football team. Just a great human being. Anyway, he heard about me, I guess, in high school, or in junior high school. So he said to me the first day of school, he said, "Joe, I want you to come up for the football team tomorrow." He said, "We're ready to go," and he said, "I heard that you got some good speed and whatever, and I would like to have you on the team." So I said, "Great." So I go home that night and I tell my mother. I said, "Mother," I've been asked to go on the football team. She said, "Out of the question. No." I said, "Why?" "Oh," she said, "it's too rough. People get hurt. It's not a good idea. I don't like it. You're not going to do it. Sorry." That's the way it is. She's the same mother that took me to accordion classes. I don't know. I went one time and, Anyway, so I went back the next day. I told Bill, I was Casanova. I said, "Mr. Casanova, I can't come out for the football team. My mother said I can't play. He said, what's your mother's phone number? I gave it to him.
Oh.
So sure enough, that night I get home from school, my mother says, you know, Bill Casanova called me today, and I got a meeting with him tomorrow, and I want you there. I said, yes, mother, of course. So next day, 4:30, we have the meeting, my mother, Bill Casanova. So Bill Casanova, I remember him saying one thing to my mother. He said, you know, Mrs. Forzani, if you don't allow your kids to pursue something they're really good at, you could be prohibiting or stopping, their growth in an area. And he said, I don't know if you as a parent should do that.
Yeah.
My mother said, well, yeah, but it's rough. He said, yeah, but it's rough. But your son is fast. He can take care of himself. So my mother said, okay, you've convinced me. So we walked outside, and I'll never forget, my mother said, you need some shoes, don't you? Football shoes. I said, yeah. She said, we're going to get the best pair. Premier Cycle and Sports, went over there, got the best pair of shoes, and from then on, it was sports and football. My two brothers followed me.
What do you think you guys were so successful in sport? In football, all three of you.
Well, that's funny, Mario. I've been asked that question a lot. We had athletic ability. It was just serious athletic ability, and we just went from one plateau to another, to another, to another, to another, and it's funny, but sort of that's the way it is. I mean, we had a good upbringing. My dad played a little bit of soccer in junior high school.
Yeah.
My mother was an athlete. She said she hit a golf ball a few times, but we didn't come from an athletic family. I sort of started it off, and I was good in sports in junior high, like I said, and then sort of moving into high school. I'll never forget, Mario, one of the things that really propelled me to football. When I was in grade 10 and I was out for the team, and I made the high school team, and I can remember going to the library and bringing out Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
And I used to bring them out, and I used to go through page by page, and I was really interested in college football. The stands, the pictures, the stands were full. Some of the players, the way they looked, and I went, oh wow, that'd be neat if I could go to U.S. football, college football, and even get an education. That would be really. And I sort of built that as an image in my mind. I don't know, how many people were in high school in Calgary at the time, let alone in my school, and I don't know how we just my athletic ability. I guess I had it. I pursued it, and I got a football scholarship to Utah State University.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, my brother John got a football scholarship to Utah State University. And then 2 years after that, they just gave my brother Tommy one. They said, look, I don't care. And he ended up the most successful. Tommy at one time held the NCAA passing record of 92 catches in 10 games. My brother John was the captain of the team when I was gone. And he was a great offensive lineman. We all played different positions.
Yeah.
But I guess we're just born into athletic ability and just had the determination to exercise it to the fullest.
Now, all three of you went on to play for the Stamps, right?
Yes. Like I said, we got this. I got this football scholarship. When I finished grade 12, to backtrack just a sec, when I went in high school, grade 10 and 11, I never played much. Grade 10, I was sort of a backup. I can't even remember. Grade 11, I kind of got hurt and didn't do much. But I remember I got to grade 12, my last year. I remember the first day of football, Bill Casanova came over to me, put his arm around me. He said, Joe, he said, all the guys are gone. You're going to carry the load this year. He said, we're going to pull you at fullback, running back, fullback. And he said, you're big and strong and fast. I want you to just go for it. And I did. And I love to carry the ball, and all of a sudden, things went really well. We were one block away from winning the city championship. But apart from that, the next year I played for Mount Royal, and Bill Casanova ended up coaching Mount Royal. And then after Mount Royal, I got a call from the Stampeders saying, why don't you come to our training camp? We want you to try out. And I'm 18 years old. And I'm going to try out with the Stampeders. Holy, word got around my family, and half of them couldn't speak English. My parents could, but grandmothers and grandfathers and aunts, and all of a sudden I went and tried out with the Stampeders. But one of the things I wanted, Mario, I wanted American University. and they wanted to sign me. They said, look, we want to sign you, you're young and whatever, but we think you've got promise. And I said, you know what, I want to go to University of the States. I want an education. I want to go experience that. And they said, okay, and they helped me. So I had 5 scholarship offers. I had Montana, Montana State, Idaho. And I decided to choose Utah State University. It's sort of about an hour and a half from Salt Lake City. And it's sort of in sort of the same kind of ranchy kind of atmosphere that Calgary is.
Oh, yeah.
They had a great coach by the name of Tony Knapp, and I decided to go there. And I accepted the scholarship, and I went there and got my 4-year degree. Then 2 years into it, my brother John, who's graduated from St. Francis, he's an offensive lineman. We never did play the same position, the three of us.
Yeah.
I was a linebacker, John was an offensive guard, and my brother Tommy was a receiver. And so John, like I told the coach about my brother John, they got some film on him, so they brought him down. I remember showing him around the school, and they gave him a full ride scholarship. We got a full ride. That means we got all our room and board, all our classes, everything paid for. We even had a job. I had a job whenever there was a basketball game. I was kind of an usher, and it paid for everything. So my dad wasn't obliged to take care of my education. And I felt obliged to them that I got this free, and so that's why I busted myself even more, so I could sort of fulfill that dream of getting education without my parents' input, which was really good.
Yeah. So obviously, your family is known for its football, but it's also known, from a business standpoint. Who can forget Forzani's, right? The sporting goods store. Tell me a little bit of how that came about.
Well, what happened there, Mario? Really good question. About the first year when I came back to the Stampeders and played in 1968. I was in the 68 Grey Cup. Actually, I hit a great first time in 23 years. A team won the Grey Cup. We went down to Toronto. He lost to Ottawa. Well, that goes way back. I remember I was a backup linebacker my first year. But then my second year, after that season, my brother John came up, the start of the third season. And so he came up and played a year, and he went back to school to get some more education. And he ended up seeing, he went to visit a buddy of his, Phil Olson. I don't know if you ever heard of Merlin Olson, Little House in the Prairies.
Yeah.
He was a 13-time All-Pro for the Los Angeles Rams. Well, his brother Phil played for the Rams too.
Yeah.
He got drafted. And so my brother John went to visit him after his first year. And he came back one day, I remember in the spring, and he said, he called us together, my brother, myself, my brother Tom, and a really good friend, Basil Bark, who became a friend after this. He said, I've got this great idea. I saw these athletic footwear stores in California starting off. Before 1977, 78, before 1974, 75, you bought your athletic shoes from the Hudson's Bay Company. You bought Converse, just flat sole shoe. But now, John said that there's shoes for sports-specific shoes coming out, like track shoes, football shoes, basketball shoes, baseball shoes. And he said, there's a store down there called the Foot Locker that's starting off. He said, we got to invest our money and we got to open a store here. And we're well known in the city. I mean, we've all played football here. Why don't we use that name for future? We all agreed. And so we opened up our first store. My dad, if you can believe this, my dad, as I said, the jack of all trades, built the store. He built the store, like all with the wood and the carpentry and all the whatever. You know, the cash desk was all by hand. It wasn't computerized. My brother John was the operator, and he brought in Basil Bark, another good friend, to do the buying. And they opened the first store, and it was down on 4th Street. It used to be Franzel's Gas House. Now it's I can't remember the name of it now. Yeah. But that's where the first store was, and it's almost 4th Street and Elbow Drive. But I was at the time, I had got my master's degree from the University of Utah, and I was going back to university, and I was in a different atmosphere. I wanted to get into education, and so about a year and a half later, when the first store opened, I took a teaching job in Germany at a Baden-Baden Canadian Air Force Base, to teach phys ed. I did that for 3 years. Meanwhile, my brother John, with Basil Bark, opened up Forzani's. Now we were all cut in as a percentage. I had a percentage.
Yeah.
Baz had a percentage because it was a good thing. John got the majority of the shares, and away we went, and it became very successful. So I'd come back in the summertime. I'd go to the store and sign autographs, even though I was kind of finished. And it's sort of one store, then 2 stores. My brother John was an excellent businessman.
Wow.
Very, very strong visionary.
Yeah.
And then after a few years, when I came back, I taught for 1 more year. I got into the oil and gas business for 5 years. And then finally it got big enough, and John and I had a talk, and that's when I went into the business too. So I was in there for 25 years as well.
And you guys were so successful that eventually a few years back, Canadian Tire bought the company out.
Oh,
right?
you know what? It was a lot of hard work and slugging, and oh my gosh, I could tell you 100 stories, Mario, about what happened.
Yeah.
But we made it successful. We hit it at the right time too. I think John's sort of ingenious attitude and personality, and he came up with the idea of expanding and sort of got into cash flows. He's a real natural businessman, but we just kept expanding.
Yeah.
And we hit it at the right time. Running shoes started to sort of take an upward swing, and people used to buy out athletic footwear to wear on the street, which was really unheard of,
Yeah.
and to use them with track shoes and other types of shoes. So we hit it at a right time too, perfect time.
Yeah.
And we got established before Foot Locker came here. Then they came to Canada. They opened some stores in Calgary, but we had opened up 5 or 6 stores by then, and we really were, our name and our sort of tuned in knowledge of the local community and what people really wanted. Like, it really sort of worked out.
Let's switch gears here before we end, Joe, and talk a little bit about being Italian. What's your favorite things about being Italian?
Well, I can remember, Mario, when I was a kid. I mean, I remember grade 3, 4, and 5. Like, it wasn't cool to be an Italian. They used to call us wops. They used to call us every name under the sun. And, it was quite annoying, actually, to be honest with you. I can remember, I was kind of so embarrassed to be an Italian when I was a kid because of the treatment and because of where we were and, just the way people sort of talked to us and stuff. I can remember, I think it was in grade 3 or 4, and I remember the start of the school year, the teacher went around and wanted everybody's full name. I remember the first day of school, I was sitting right in the middle, and they went around and they, every name, Luigi Spallandoza, and all these, Mario, so, on and on and on. And then all the Greek names and the Polish names. And as the names became worse, the yelling went, ooh, like the teacher couldn't control it. So like it got to me. And my real name is Joseph Alphonsus Anthony Forzani.
Yeah.
Like, so, but, Giuseppe Antonio, what I mean? So it got to me and I said, no, I can't say that. I went, Joseph, Mark. Ooh, everybody went, oh, that's not bad. Alphonsus Forzani. Oh, okay, we'll buy that, So I can remember about 2 months later, the report cards came in. And so I got the report card, my mother opened it, and she said, Joseph, Mark, that's not your name. Who gave you that? I said, oh, and I tried to tell her. It was, in the sky, it was so embarrassing to get. She said, you're born with that name, you were given that name, you gotta be proud of that. Well, I said, I mean, that's the way it was. So she went down to school. Do you know something? When I got my grade 12 diploma, Mario, my name was Joseph Mark Alphonsus Forzani. So she never did get rid of it. And today, if you went back far enough, that's what my name is. Kind of funny that's what happened.
All right, super. Well, thanks, Joe, for joining us
I
today.
just want to make one further comment.
Sure.
Today, being an Italian, I'm the most proud person in the world. I mean, I'm in with people like successful people like the Spallatinis, the Palombos, and all the Italians. There's so many Italians that have made it in real estate, in the financial field,
Yeah.
you know, in education. I mean, it's just really proud that I've got that heritage. I'm a first generation, but I'm really proud of my family, how they survived and what they did, and how they accomplished all the things that they did. And I just feel really proud of it. And today, when I say I'm an Italian, people almost start bowing to me because, you know, we're leaders in the car industry, in the food industry, in the alcohol industry,
Yeah.
wine, you know, and sort of history, I mean, fashion, you know, so it's just a great feeling to be an Italian.
And I often see you down at the club having lunch.
Oh, I'm at the Italian club a couple times a week.
Yeah.
Love it there. And I meet all, you know what I'm doing, Mario, which is really interesting. It's kind of funny. I mean, when I left for university, I left Calgary, I left Bridgeland. I went to Utah State University and played football with a lot of players from California, right across the country.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I came back to Calgary, I met all kinds of different people. And I lived in different communities. I got away from the language. And, you know, even when I took the teaching job right after, I taught in Germany. I learned German, you know. I know more German than Italian. My dad's philosophy when I was a kid, and this is really interesting. My dad's philosophy when he was a kid. I mean, he came here, the hardship he must have had. He was telling, he worked for 20 cents an hour, 10 cents an hour, laying bricks and doing all this stuff. And he told us, he used to get my two brothers and myself, John and Tom, together, and he used to say this. He used to say, you want to get it better in Canada, you speak the English, no Italian. My dad was kind of bitter of Italy. I think there was no jobs over there, and I think, it was really sad over there. So when he came here, this was his opportunity. And so he wouldn't let us speak Italian in the house.
Wow.
And they spoke Italian. Whenever they wanted to keep something from us, they spoke Italian. But they wouldn't let us do that. And I'd often go over to my mother and say, what do you say, Mother? What do you say? What do you say? And she'd tell me words, but I never did put the phrases together. Anyway, so that's thank you very much for inviting me today. It was really interesting.
All right, super. That was Joe Forzani on Mario Toneguzzi with Italian Spotlight, brought to you by Spalombos. Thanks for joining us today.